Inside Out, how are we doing tonight? We doing good? We doing good? Awesome, awesome. Well, hey, if I haven't got the chance to meet you or talk to you before, my name is Jaxon. I'm going to be a senior at Vista Ridge High School. Yeah. Shout out class of 2019. Shout out Rangers. There we go. Seniors, there we go. And I'm super excited to be up here with y'all tonight to kick off this brand new series called Different. And I don't know about y'all, but I relate to this series on like a physical level because usually how I look is a little something like this. And there we are. Maybe a Capri Sun in my hair, but not in my hair, in my mouth. But I usually have like brown or dirty blonde, whatever you want to call that hair. But as you can tell, something changed. And the reason why that changed is because I lead a group of 8th grade guys here at North Point. Those are my guys. Crazy, sometimes annoying if I'm being honest, but love getting to be their small group leader. And boot camp registration came around, and I was trying to be a good small group leader, and I was like, hey, if you all get like 20 guys to sign up for boot camp, I'll dye my hair whatever color y'all want, right? And they were like, ooh, like this is gonna be good, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like I didn't actually think they were gonna get 20 people to sign up. Like if I was being honest, I thought I did my deed of being a good small group leader. I was like, it's off my shoulders now. Like I did a great job. A couple days before boot camp, I had one of the Camp 75 interns tell me, your small group got 26 guys to sign up. And I was like, crap. I was like, okay. And I went into small group that next day, and I was like, hey, so y'all actually met the mark. Y'all got 26, and they're like, we're going to make you uglier than you already are. And I was like, y'all are terrible, but okay, what color do y'all want? And they like looked around, and they were like, this is a democracy, so we voted on white. And first I was like, white? But then I was like, why? Like, let's get it, right? I didn't have to have it like red, orange, like rainbow. Like, I was good, you know? So I took white, and I went to this lady I knew, and I was like, all right, I need my hair to be dyed white. And she's like, well, it's not as easy as that sounds. And I was like, why? You just get some white hair dye, like, rub that stuff in your hair, call it good, and I'm out the door. And they're like, no, actually, if you want your hair white, you have to bleach your hair many, many times in order to get it white. And I didn't know that, so I was like, okay, what do I need to buy? She sent me a list and went and bought the like bleach stuff. I bought this like old lady shampoo. If you ever use it, like that stuff smells weird. But anyways, had to buy it and took it to the shop, and I bleached my hair twice, hoping to get more reps in. And the lady looks at my hair, and then she looks at me, and she was like, I've bleached it twice. I can bleach it a third time, but your scalp's going to blister and your hair is going to fall out. So you run the risk of doing that if we bleach it 3 times. And I was like, I'm good. I'll check out now. So this is actually how I ended up looking after it. Very, very yellow. Very, very blonde. Thank you. But I got called many nicknames. I got called Eminem. Also, like they'd be like, the real Slim Shady, please stand up. And I'm like, I'm already standing, so it doesn't really count. So anytime I walked in a room. But I think the one that actually like hurt my pride the most is whenever I was compared to this person. I was actually compared to Ellen. And I think it hurt my pride the most because I realized how true it actually was. Like I actually took a look in the mirror and I was like, I look like Ellen. And it was a sad realization. But nothing against Ellen. I love Ellen. But that's just how I relate with this series just on a physical level. But I'm super excited where we're going with this series tonight. And I don't know about y'all, but whenever I hear the word different, I just always think of this book that I used to read as a child. And it just stood out to me so much. And it was actually the Guinness Book of World Records. Does anybody have this book or own one of these books before? Yes, I used to read this book countless and countless times, even though I knew exactly what was in the book. But the reason why this stood out to me so much is because of the people that were in the book. The people in the book were just so different, and they were doing different things. It was unlike any other book or any other characters or people that I've ever seen. And I was scrolling through like the internet and like was looking at the book, and I was like, hey, let's just pull out some of the funniest and weirdest ones that I could find, because you know what, like that's what everybody does. So the first one I found was The Shortest Man. And this one you might be like, why is this weird, or like, why is this like funny? Because I'd always been under the impression that the shortest man was Matt Keeney, that runs production back there. And then I realized that it wasn't Matt Keeney. So I had to go to the second option. And I was like, then it has to be Jeremy Edlin. It has to be. Like, it has to be. But apparently it isn't. There's actually a man shorter than both of them. And it's this guy right up here. He is 22 inches tall. 22 inches. Like, he comes up to my knee on a good day, okay? Like, I just find this very, like, insane. The next weirdest one I found, or the most different one I found, is the largest collection of garden gnomes. The largest collection of garden gnomes is over 2,000 garden gnomes owned. Like, first of all, like, why? Like, why do you need 2,000 garden gnomes? Like, you're not a Smurf. Like, you don't need 2,000 garden gnomes. Like, imagine staying the night at her house and you wake up and there's a garden gnome in your bed. Like, I'd sue her. Like, that's uncalled for. Like, that's unreal. Like, that's just weird. The next one I found is, like, kind of interesting. It's the most rotations on a power drill hanging from a ceiling. Yes, there's a world record for that. And it's 148. And it's actually by this guy. I don't even know his name. But, like, how bored do you have to be to make this a world record, right? Like, you had to watch all Netflix shows, like Riverdale, Vampire Diaries, Grey's, like, all completed. Like, either you don't have friends, or your friends are out of town, and you have no one to hang out with, so this is what you do. Like, you find a power drill in your garage, you hang it to the ceiling, and you're like, let's just make a world record out of this. I don't know. I feel like I could have done something like that, but that's an interesting one for me. This one's kind of creepy. It's the most piercings in a lifetime. And the most piercings in a lifetime is 4,226 piercings. It's like disturbing for me. But, like, I didn't know you had over 4,000 places on your body that you could pierce. Like, this is insane. Like, if she took all those piercings out, could I just, like, stick my hand through her face? Like, because she has that many holes? Like, that's insane. Like, this is just insane. We could take that down. That's nasty. The next one I think is probably, like, the cringiest or, like, creepiest or weirdest one for me, and it's the longest kiss. And I want y'all to yell out some guesses as to what do you think this is. 27 hours. 27 hours. All right. The longest kiss recorded, all right, the longest kiss recorded is 58 hours, 35 minutes, and 58 seconds long. How? I don't understand how you could kiss that one person for over 2 days straight. My biggest curiosity when I read this was, how do you use the restroom, right? Like, do you just, like, strap a bottle to yourself? Like, do y'all have, like a signal that you've made up before, and then you just shuffle to the bathroom or something? Like how does this even happen? But, like, this is just weird. But maybe you found those interesting. Maybe you found those weird, funny, creepy. I don't really know how y'all found those, but I think that we can all relate with these people that did these world records. No, I'm not saying you want over 5,000 piercings in a 60-hour kiss. That's not what I'm saying, all right? What I'm saying is that we all want to be different. We all want to be different. We all want to live different lives to the people to the left and to the right of us. It's not hard for us to look around the room and look to the left and to the right of us and know that we are different, but we want to be different. We want to live a life that's worth living. We want to be known for something. We want to leave a legacy here on earth whenever we live our lives. And some of us, whenever I say that, you say, yes, I agree with that so much. Like, I want to be different. I want to live a different life compared to everybody else. Like, I agree with that. But there's also some people here in the room tonight that stand over here. And they say, no, Jaxon, like, you can miss me with that different stuff. No, I want to be normal. I want to say what everybody else says, do what everybody else does, wear what everybody else wears. I just want to do whatever I can so I can fit in. Like, I don't really care about a legacy or anything. Like, I don't need this, like, light shining on me. No. I want to be normal. And I agree with that. I think there's a part of us here tonight, each and every single one of us, that also wants to be normal, that wants to fit in, that doesn't want to have a spotlight on us all the time, that we just want to be normal. We want to be with the in crowd. But the question I want to ask you is, what is your definition of normal? Because your definition of normal can change on who you talk to here in the room tonight. But if we're talking in the context of our culture, of our society, and we want to know what normal is, this is what normal is categorized as. Normal is comparison. Normal is looking to the left and to the right and looking on social media and just trying to compare yourself to other people and saying, I wish I had what they had. I wish I was what they was. Normal is forgetful or forgettable. That it's living, dying, and that's just it. That's just our life. That we live a normal life, and that's just how it is. We don't do anything significant with our lives. That we just do what everybody else does with our lives. Normal is disengaged. Normal is so consumed with ourself that we don't see what's around us a lot of the times. Normal is distracted. Normal is always having technology or some sort of technology in our phone, and we're so consumed with what isn't on here that we don't actually get to see what is out there. Normal is honestly anxious. And if I'm being really honest, normal is depressed. Normal is divorced. Normal is addicted. You can look at countless studies and see that over 90%, if not every single American, is addicted to something. And after looking at that list, I know I don't want to live a normal life, and I don't know about y'all, but I don't think y'all want to live just a normal life, because if this is what normal is going to get us, this is going to be scary. Like, this is not a life worth living. But if we don't want to live a normal life, I guess the question that just begs to be asked now is, okay, then how can we live differently? How can we live differently? How can we live a life different from normal? And in order for us to figure out that, I actually want to tell y'all a story. And this story this is a story that Jesus told, and this is the most famous public speech sermon, whatever you want to call it, in history. Like, of the recorded speeches of all time, this is the most famous. If you think of I Have a Dream or Gettysburg Address, this is higher than this, and this is called the Sermon on the Mount. I want to focus on the end of the sermon because Jesus is standing on this rock, and he's preaching to all these people, and at the end, he talks about two lives, two men that live two different lives. And I actually want to take a look at this story. And it says in Matthew 7 that, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundations on the rock. Jesus continues and he says, but everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. So I actually want to illustrate this here for y'all tonight. So, brought this little handy-dandy contraption here, all right? And I want to represent our lives as this house, okay? Because we each build our own lives each and every single day. And like Jesus said, there are two men. There's a man that built his house on sand. And sand, I believe, is what is normal. Sand is what I believe is what everybody else does. That everybody wants to build their houses on sand because it's easier. Imagine trying to drill wood into sand and drilling wood into a rock. It's way easier to drill wood into sand. This is what everybody else does. Not only that, but this building your life on sand lets you hear things but not actually have to apply them into your life. You can go to church on Sunday morning, you can hear a really great sermon, but it can go in one ear and out the other. Why? Because you're building your house on sand. It's what everybody else does, so you don't have to apply it to your life. You can hear really good advice from a friend that you trust, but that doesn't mean you have to put it into play. You can just build your life on sand, and you don't actually have to apply anything because that's what everybody else does. And you can build your nice little house here, mush it in the sand, put it near the sand, and then soon enough, life's going to hit, right? You're going to hear something that you don't want to hear. You're going to see something that you don't want to see. And it's going to sit there for a little bit. And eventually, it's going to fall off. And in fact, your house is going to break. Your life is going to fall apart. Then you say, no, it's okay. You know what? Hashtag comeback. We're going to come back. So we'll put our house back together like it looks pretty, like ta-da. And then we're just going to sit here. We'll add a little bit more sand. Like, we'll build our lives a little bit more better. And we'll just leave it there for a minute. And then, life's going to hit again. We're going to hear something that we don't want to hear, see something that we don't want to see. And eventually, it'll fall off. Eventually, it'll fall off. Again. Y'all get the point. It'll fall off, okay? Your life will fall off, and it'll break into many, many different pieces, just like that. And if we want to keep building our lives on sand, that's exactly what's going to happen to our lives. It's going to look a little something like that. Or we have another option, like another man who built this house on a rock, okay? It's pretty sturdy, like it's pretty hard, and you mold your house, mold your life on a rock. This means that you can actually hear things, and you can put them into practice. You hear advice, you hear things that sound good, and then you put them into practice in your life. That's why I believe this is different. This is different. This is a different lifestyle. And the reason why it's a different lifestyle is because he started with the end in mind. He saw where he wanted to be. We see where we want to go in life, and we try to push it, and we try to move it, but it stands firm. So whenever we do see life happen, whenever the winds of life do come, like it says in the story, the house doesn't move. It stays there. It stays there. No matter what winds in life happen, no matter what happens in life, we see life coming, and we said, no, we plan for the future. We plan for something like this to happen, so the house doesn't move. If I'm being honest with us here tonight, I think we can do the exact same thing, that we can start with the end in mind. And you're like, well, Jaxon, how do I actually practically start with the end in mind? So I want you all to imagine with me here for a second that you're going on a road trip, okay? And it's the summertime, so you're going on a road trip to the beach. And you realize that all Texas beaches suck compared to everywhere else in the nation. So for a lack of a better beach that I know, you go to Destin, okay? You go to Destin. And this is actually what the map looks like to get to Destin, to drive to Destin, okay? This is the exact route. Every exit, every street, every detour, every place that you go will get you to Destin. You cannot take a random exit on this path because you think the exit name sounds cool and hope that you're going to get to Destin. It's not going to happen. And honestly, people live their lives like this. People take random exits in life and hope that they're going to get to the destination that they want, but that's honestly not what's going to happen. They're going to be in a rude awakening when they realize that they're not going to get where they want to be in life. So in order for us to start with the end in mind, we got to plan each and every single step in order to get to where we want to be in life. And so the next question is then, okay, how do I get the whole illustration, but I need some more practical stuff. Like, how can I actually practically put this into play? And I think the easiest way to do this is pull out your laptop or your phone or get a piece of paper out or something, and you look at these 3 questions, and you answer them honestly. And the first question is, where do you want to be in 6 months, a year, 5 years, or 10 years? Where honestly do you see yourself, or where do you want to be? Freshmen, do you want to be at the top 10% of your class whenever you get there? Do you want to have a good rank or good GPA? Do we want to be accepted into that dream school? Do we want to be in the college that we wanted to be, the College of Business or College of Communications? Do we want to get that scholarship? Do we want to have a family? Do we want to have a life? Do we want to have a deeper growing relationship with God? Where do we see ourselves, or where do we want to be in that time frame? The second question is, what steps need to be taken to get there? If we want to be in the top 10% or get into that school that we want, do we have to start studying now so we can get there? Do we have to actually start doing our homework instead of copying it? If we want to get that scholarship, or if we want to get that D1 scholarship from somebody or from that school or from our dream school and go play there, do we need to start practicing now like we're going to get that scholarship later? If you want a deeper, more authentic relationship with God, do you need to start having time with God now? Do you need to start putting that into practice? What steps need to be taken to get there? My last question is, what steps do you need to focus on and do now? Which of those steps that you think about whenever it comes to where you want to be in life, you have to put them into practice now. Guys, we all have places that we want to be in life. We all want to go somewhere. We all want to be something. And we can't just live a normal life to do that, because if we live a normal life, we're going to go back to that list. If I'm being honest, I don't want a normal life for y'all, and I don't want a normal life for myself either. So we can't live a normal life. We got to do something different. And in order for us to do something different, we got to start with the end in mind. And we can do that by answering these 3 simple questions. So where do you want to be in 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road? Where do you see yourself in life? What steps need to be taken to get there? Which of those steps that I said that you need to take to actually get there in life? And what steps do you need to focus on and do now? Which steps do you need to prioritize and take and do today? And I'd love for us to talk about that in our small groups. But before we get there, let me pray for you all. Heavenly Father, God, I am just amazed here tonight. And I'm just so thankful for this place called Inside Out, that we can come and we can just hang out and get free food. And then ultimately we could just get to learn more about you. And whether whether we believe or we don't. We just get to hang out with some of our friends and just get to grow closer with each other and get to grow closer with you. And God, I realize that a normal life just doesn't sound fun. And honestly, it doesn't sound scary. And I don't want us to live normal lives, any of us here in the room tonight. So God, we gotta live differently. We gotta start with the end in mind. And God, I pray and I just ask that you just fill us with what our answer is to that. How do we start with the end in mind? What steps do I need to take now in order to be where I want to be later in the future? God, we love you big. We need you big. It's in your son's name that we pray. Amen.